What do you believe in? What do you stand for? What's important enough in your life for you to demonstrate the moral courage to be willing to stand up for it? What do you believe in? And that's something that you don't have to know right now, but it's something that you've got to be thinking about. Because when you become a man of accountability, you got to know what you believe in. Go ahead. Moral courage.
My name is Justin Saunders, and I think in order to have pride for yourself, pride.
Pride?
Yes, pride.
Pride. Okay. For pride. I actually, the only way I could go to college, because my parents didn't have the money to send me to college, and as I told you, they didn't have a high school education, was to play football. So I played at Virginia Tech on a football scholarship. And my coach there was a great guy. Coach Godfrey knew him. Was a great guy named Jerry Claiborne. And one of the things that Jerry Claiborne always stressed on the football field was pride. You got to take pride in what you're doing. Now, pride can be a negative too. Too much pride can be an absolute and total negative. In fact, if you have too much pride, you may not be willing to do what's right because you're afraid someone will say something about you. But taking pride in what you do is an important leadership trait. So thank you for that. Pride is an important leadership characteristic or trait. What do you got your name upside down for? How am I going to read it like this? Nick.
Nick Johnson, I was going to say a good leader is humble.
Oh my goodness. I was hoping that one was going to come out. Humble. Let me tell you, when you lose your humility, you're going to get in trouble as a leader. Now I know that you guys have seen, for example, you've seen a lot of men with good reputations, men that have built powerful businesses or powerful ministries. Is this thing still on? It's on? Okay.
No.
It's not on.
You gotta hold it at the bottom. You gotta jimmy it. Yeah, you gotta jimmy it at the bottom.
How about now?
Yeah, just hold it.
All right, we got it. You've all seen men that have done that, and then all of a sudden they wind up failing. They wind up getting involved in an adulterous affair, or they wind up embezzling money. And what happens? Well, what happens to them is they lose their humility. They get to the point where they start to rationalize what they're doing. They start to make excuses for themselves by saying, well, I've done so much, I'm entitled to something extra. And they don't hold themselves to the same standards that they do other people, particularly the people that work for them. They don't hold themselves to those standards. So let me tell you something, and you guys, what you hope is that you will marry a really good woman, because nobody will keep you humble like your wife. Okay? Nobody will keep you humble like your wife. But you got to have people around you that will tell you when you're acting like a fool. And I have a ministry. I actually have a ministry called Kingdom Warriors. And on my board, I have people that will hold me accountable, that will tell me if I'm acting like a fool, that will tell me if I'm doing something that is clearly not right. They will tell me if I'm losing my humility. And in fact, this Sunday, right before I fly to Portland, Oregon, I'm actually going back to Morning Star Ministry, where I'm ordained, and I'm sitting down with them, with my wife, and we're going through a complete review. And one of the questions they will ask my wife is, Is he maintaining his humility? Is he humble enough? That's one of the questions that they'll ask my wife there. And God bless them, I'm glad they do. But you gotta, when you get a big head and that ego starts taking control of the things that you do, you're going to fail. Plain and simple, you're going to fail. And I've seen it over and over and over. Next slide. Oh, I don't have a slide. Go ahead.
James McGraw, I was gonna say faith.
Faith. Wow. Okay, let's put faith up there. All right. I couldn't agree with you more. How many of the men that signed, first of all, how many men signed, let me rephrase that. How many men voted on the Declaration of Independence? How many of them? How many were there? How many men voted on the 2nd of July? Okay, you say 55. Okay, we got 55. Do I hear 60? 55. Do I hear 60? How many?
Was it 16?
No, not 60. It's 56. 56 men. How many of those men were men of faith? All of them. All 56. They didn't agree on theology. There were different denominations, but they were all of faith, all men of faith. And by the way, I hope that you'll take the time to, at some point, to go back and study the lives of the 56 men that signed the Declaration of Independence. They actually didn't sign it on the 4th of July. They voted for it on the 2nd of July, and then really only one man signed on the 4th of July. But we still celebrated on the 4th of July because that's when it was announced. But they were men of faith. And I think faith is one of the most, is probably the most important component of leadership. Faith. Not denominations, but faith. Believing in the sovereignty of God and believing that His Son, Jesus Christ, was born of a virgin, lived as a man, died at Calvary, was buried in a tomb, and resurrected. And today sits at the right hand of God. That's the faith that I have.
General, we're going to shoot 3 at you this time.
Go.
We're going to see if he's ready. Okay? Your name.
My name is Romeo Perez. A good characteristic for a man would be dignity. Dignity.
Dignity, okay. Dignity. Now, let's just say this. Dignity comes from a combination of things. It comes from pride in what you do, taking pride in what you do. It comes from humility, and it comes from integrity. Dignity comes from those 3 things. Go ahead.
My name is Kyler Gilbert, and a good leader needs to be consistent in what he does.
Consistent, right. Absolutely consistent. You know, that's one of the things I'm so glad you brought that up, because people have to know where you stand on things, and you can't be all over the map on where you stand. That's one of the reasons I work for a guy named Tony Perkins at the Family Research Council, and I never have to worry about where he's going to stand. He's consistent. He always stands for life. He always stands for marriage. He always stands for family. He always stands for religious liberty. I never have to guess. He's consistent.
Hi, my name is Hunter Schwartz. A good leader should be respectful, basically respect all forms of life, that even a child is just as important as he is.
Respect. Absolutely agree. Okay. There's another really important one that I want somebody to come up with. You have one?
No.
Come on.
No.
Are you sure? Oh, so you jumped up here. No, you can't get in the middle of this and not have something to say. So
Elijah. Here, you gotta say, Mickey. No.
No, these are great, you're way ahead of me.
Okay, no, it's first.
My name is Noah Dagby. I say a good characteristic is to be loyal.
loyalty. Loyalty runs both ways, right? It's from the leader to his subordinates and from the subordinates to the leader. Here's the problem. Don't be blinded by this concept of loyalty, because sometimes you get confused on loyalty because you accept things that you think you're being loyal to someone when in fact what you're doing is you're failing them by not telling them that they're acting like a fool, that the choice they're making is wrong. When you see a friend making a bad choice, it's not an issue of loyalty. The loyalty is that you have the moral courage to tell them that the choice they're making is wrong. You have the, if you really care about them, have the moral courage to show them the loyalty by saying you're making a bad choice. Okay.
Okay, well, Elijah, go ahead.
I think a great leader needs to have discernment.
Discernment. Okay. Now, discernment is very closely associated with, and maybe even the same as, wisdom. Okay? What else? Give me another one here. There's one that you're missing, and I'm going to throw it out here if you want.
We got three more here.
Okay.
Zach Manderson and charisma.
Charisma. Okay. I never had that, so I'm not even going to talk about that, but it is. Every time I do this with my leadership class, the seniors in college, that's one of the issues is charisma. They want to follow a charismatic leader. So the question then is, are you born a leader or are you made into a leader? And the answer is, it's both. Some people are born with the charisma that people want to follow, and others like me have to work at it and develop their ability. What are you telling him?
Good question.
Yeah. Is that what he said?
Yes.
He wouldn't know. All right.
My name is Vayan Anku, and a characteristic that defines a leader is being compassionate.
Compassion. Compassion, and maybe even say empathy. Not sympathy, but empathy. In other words, the ability to put yourself in that person's place and see the issue from their perspective. Go ahead.
I'm Jacorian Russell, and truthful.
Truthful. We're gonna say that is trustworthy, and that's integrity. Truthful.
My name is James Sheldon. One is service before self. Service before self.
Oh my goodness. Where'd you get that?
RTC.
That's what I thought. Good for you. God bless you. Did you hear what he just said? Service before self. My latest book, I just released a book in December that I wrote with a man named Stu Weber. In fact, that's who I'm going to be with out in Oregon, pastor of the largest church in the state of Oregon. And he and I wrote a book called The Warrior Soul. The Warrior Soul. And sir, Jaden, Jaden, is that what I said? This whole thing is about what you just talked about. It's what we call having a transcendent cause. It means a cause that you're willing to fight for, that you're willing to die for even, that is bigger than you. We call it the transcendent cause, but the name of our book is The Warrior Soul, and that's what we talk about is being willing to serve for something that is more important than just your life alone. Okay?
I'm Terrell Price, and a good characteristic for a leader would be organization.
Organization. That's been my, what am I doing here? Okay, that's been my downfall. All of my adult life is my organization. Okay, and we're gonna wrap this up because I want to do something else here in just a second. Okay, Organization. Very, very important. And if you don't have that skill, get somebody around you that does. Now, can you double stack those so we can see them all on one chart there? There you go. So we can see them all at the same time. There's one that nobody talked about. And this is one of the most important, and it is a communicator. Okay? A communicator. I cannot begin to tell you how important it is for you to be able to communicate. And let me tell you something. I speak 150 times a year at a minimum all over the country to different groups. I used to be so scared to get up and speak in public that literally my legs would shake. My knees would almost knock together because I was so intimidated by having to get up and speak before people. And still today, depending on the audience, I can go right back into exactly that same fear. But I'm one to tell you that you can get over being afraid to speak publicly. You can get over it. I'm living proof. But you've got to be able to communicate. And communications is not just speaking. It's also writing. Now, I will just tell you guys, your generation, you can't write. You don't write well. You know why? They don't practice it. They text. They text. And as a result of that, they haven't developed the skills for writing. I encourage you to, at some point, go back and read some of the early letters of the Founding Fathers. Go back and read what they said in their letters. Go back and read something from Benjamin Franklin, or something from Thomas Jefferson, or something from James Madison. And it's absolutely incredible. And I will just tell you right now, you can't understand it. You can't understand it. I had to go, anybody ever heard of the Federalist Papers? Federalist Papers, you know. I had to go get a simplified version of the Federalist Papers so I could understand it. And this was the Founding Fathers writing to primarily to the people in New York, trying to help them to understand why it was important to ratify the Constitution of the United States, but it was written in such a language that was common to them because they were elaborate writers. Develop your writing skills, guys. Writing's fun. I also write novels. In fact, you know, fiction. I write fiction. Fiction's fun because you create a character that's exactly what you always wanted to be and never were. And then you live through that character that you write about in a novel. Handsome, dashing fellow, which doesn't get me very far, but at least I enjoy it. But that said, you got to be a good communicator. But it's oral communications, it's how you speak, and it's how you write, and you've got to develop the ability to write. And let me tell you something else. If you want to get into a real professional environment, you've got to be able to write. And there are some professions that if you can't write, you'll never be able to perform in that profession. The legal profession is one of them. You've got to be able to write. You've got to write briefs and amicus briefs and that type of thing. You've got to be able to write. But there are other things, though, in all kinds of businesses where you need to be able to write. So work on your writing skills. That's important also to the leader in being able to communicate his intention, being able to communicate his vision, and then that is the last thing, is a leader needs to be a visionary. In other words, a leader needs to be able to have a plan and cast that plan or explain that plan in such a way that the people around him can understand it. Okay, now here's what I'm going to do. Everybody in here can look at this list and say, you know, there's a couple of these that I need to work on. Or they could look at this and say, you know what, there's a couple of these that I'm pretty good at. Now here's what I'm going to do. This is your list. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you what I think the three are on this list that I'm best at, that are my strengths, okay? I am, yes sir.
This lady right here has one she wants to add on.
Add what you want to add.
Passion.
Passion, okay? Put that up there. If you don't have passion for what you're doing, you're just drawing a paycheck and you're never going to be real good at it. You've got to have passion. Do you see passion in the coach and in the people that are here? Do you see a passion in them for being part of your lives? Do you see that? That's what you're talking about, is a passion for what you're doing. And if you don't like what you're doing, stay with it until something that you really do like comes along, but don't just walk away from it. Okay. So I'm going to say to you that, in fact, I'm going to write them up here. Okay, yeah, do that. Integrity is a strength. I have moral courage. I'm a chicken physically, but I have moral courage. And I do have faith. So take that one off. Take faith off. Because that is so fundamental to leadership. Take it off of there. Okay. In that case, now I'm going to say that I am, in fact, loyal. Okay? So you got my... Now, let me tell you what my bottom three are that are organized. Okay? Did you put communications up here? Yeah, we need to put communications up there. Okay, I'm not very organized. Selflessness, that's not one of my strengths. I'd like for it to be, but sometimes I actually wind up asking myself, did you do that to make yourself feel better, or did you do it really because you wanted to help that person? And I wind up in an internal struggle all the time about whether what I'm doing is for the right reasons or not. And let's see, probably charisma is a weakness. I'm not a charismatic guy. Well, I should not say that. Depends on whether you're talking about charismatic in terms of leadership or charismatic in terms of doctrine. I guess I could say I am a charismatic doctrinally. Okay. That's what I would say are my strengths and my weaknesses based on this list. Okay? Now look on the list. You got them all written down. Look on the list. I'm going to go around and we're going to get about 4 or 5 of you here, and I'm going to ask you to tell me what your top three, your bottom three are. I'll ask for volunteers at first. If you don't volunteer, then I'll just volunteer you. Okay? Let's do that. We okay, Coach, on time?
Yeah, good.
We okay with this?
We're okay. We're in good shape.
Okay. Top three, bottom three. No, I drank a whole bottle of water right before I got up here, and I actually told them, I said, this will keep me from going too long if I drink a whole bottle of water before I get up here. So, I'm going to drink some more. It hasn't taken effect yet. When it does, I'll leave. I'll sit down. Okay, who needs more time? Okay, keep going. Top three, bottom three. Yes, sir. You want to tell us what your top three and bottom three are? Romeo. What a great name. Go ahead.
I have dignity, wisdom, also passionate, but 3 things that I'm weak in is humility, respectfulness, and consistency.
You are so good. How old are you? Hey, cricket. I don't know, I missed something when I was your age. Holy mackerel. Okay?
One of my top, I would say I'm very confident. I can say I'm charismatic. And I can say I'm loyal. But one thing I really stink at is humbleness. I just got that in the gist. Empathy. Yeah, that's not good. That's not strong suit for me. I'm not very organized either.
You're priceless, son. You are priceless. Come right to you.
3 strong suits are I am an encourager, I'm trustworthy, and I'm respectful. 3 not strong strengths are I'm not organized, I'm not charismatic, and I'm not really responsible.
Okay, great, thank you.
My strengths are respectful, physical courage, and organization. Things I struggle with are communication, service before self, and constant consistency.
Consistent?
Yeah.
Consistent, yeah. Thank you. Yes, sir.
3 things that I'm good at. I'm fairly charismatic. I am very loyal, and I'm an encourager. 3 things that I'm not so good at. I don't make the wisest decisions sometimes. Well, a lot of times. Discernment. I'm not very organized, and I have trouble public speaking, so.
Okay. And just keep working on it. It doesn't come naturally to some people. It does not come, it comes naturally to this man right here. No, it does. It comes speaking to people. Speaking in public comes naturally to him. It doesn't come naturally to you. Doesn't mean you can't be good at it at some point. You just gotta work on it. You gotta swallow hard, get up there and just do it. And every time you do it, you get better. You'll feel more comfortable with it. Okay? Okay, Troy?
3 things I'm strong at is I'm respectful, loyal, and stay humble. 3 things I need to work on is need to be more wise, courageous, and consistent.
Okay, great, thank you. Jaden, is that your name?
My top 3 are passion, confidence, and charisma. And 3 things I need to work on is communication, consistency.
I know, consistency.
Consistency and organization.
Organization. Yeah, I got the same problem. All right. Anybody else? Okay, let's go over to the other side over here.
Well, my tops would be that I'm loyal, I like to think I'm wise, and I'm pretty compassionate. My bottom would be organized, pride, and empathy.
Okay, good. I'm coming back to you back here just a second.
Good at physical, faithful, and respectful, and I'm not good at
No, tell me, wait, what was the third one on here?
respectful.
Okay, go ahead.
Not good at trustful, organized, and responsibility.
Responsibility, okay, good, thank you. Okay. What do you got your name upside down for? Okay, let me see, now you change, okay.
My name is Keontae Ship, and 3 things that I'm good at is pride, encourager, and confident. 3 that I'm not good at is responsible, respect, and faith.
Faith, okay. We gotta work on the faith. Okay. Did I miss anybody that wanted to? Over here. Okay.
Two things I'm good at is I'm an encourager, I am usually very organized, and I have a lot of passion. Two things I'm not very good at are service for self, pride, and I'm not very confident.
Okay, great. All right, we'll get everybody that wanted to go. All right, I'm going to wrap it up with this. I'm going to tell you a story here as I kind of wrap this up tonight. And what I'm about to tell you is the most important thing that I've said to you. And the story I'm about to tell you is for a purpose. When that helicopter that you just saw crashed, that was really the beginning of an 18-hour fight. We stayed in that city for 18 hours and fought for 18 hours. And you know what we were fighting for? We were fighting for 2 dead bodies. Our friends, our comrades. We were fighting over those dead bodies, but 18 hours later, we came out of that city in one 5-ton truck. And you guys probably don't know what a 5-ton truck is, but it's a big open truck, and we stacked up the dead on the bottom of the bed of that truck and the wounded up on top of the dead. And it's interesting that I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee last Friday night, a week ago tonight, and there was a guy there that was one of the people stacked up in the back of that truck as we came out of that city. And let me tell you, my heart was absolutely breaking. As I looked at the carnage in the back of that truck, as I looked at my soldiers that I was responsible for in the back of that truck, and I walked over to help drop the tailgate, and when I did, the blood poured out the back of that truck like water, and my heart was broken, and all I could say was, God, where were you? God, how could you let this happen? How could you let these men die? Didn't you hear me pray? How could this happen? God, how could it be? Now, have any of you ever asked that question? Have any of you ever maybe thought about, God, how could this be? How could this happen in my life? Well, after we evacuated our dead and wounded, I went over and sat down on my bunk, and it had gotten dark. And I sat down on my bunk, and I was so angry with God. That's right, I was angry with God. You've been angry with God? Don't show me your hand.